How's it going, guys? Welcome to another video. I wanted to discuss something. I recently stumbled upon a video, or there's a channel that I watch here called Mediocre Tutorials and Reviews. I love his videos, watch him every time, and I like his take on some videos and perspectives that he has. Shout out to him, by the way. Great YouTube, great content creator. But he was reviewing a video going on see here, the title is with Jordan Peterson, very intellectual, very scholarly man, discussing whether men and women can ever be equal. And I saw the video, I saw the review on his channel, and I went ahead and watched the video again on my own, and it brings up some good ideas from both parties. With Peterson and the lady here. I do not know her name, but maybe throughout the video when I watch it, I'll get her name again. And it was really interesting towards the end of the video what the explanations that were taking place by her, and it brings up some interesting points, honestly, or interesting steps or ideas that I wanted to discuss. And without further ado, let's just get into the video here. Let's see what happens. All right.
What do you understand by equality, Sophie? What does it mean to you?
Freedom.
Can you be more? Is it equality of opportunity? Is it equal pay across the board? Is it something more than that?
I think equality is better for everyone. I
Yeah,
think,
okay.
and I'm really delighted, I love my job because it's an optimistic and a hopeful job, which is about creating more choices for people. I'm interested in people being able to have different choices and having equality of outcome.
That's interesting. Her job is to do that, or her job gives her that opportunity to do that. And you got to really think about like the place and the mindset or the kind of environment that she grew up in or lived in to have that kind of opportunity. And what kind of opportunity is she present? Which group of people is she presenting this type of opportunity to? But let's not really get into all that right now. Let's see what
You're going to have choices and equality of outcome.
Peterson
Whether
says.
people choose different things, which is what they've been doing in Scandinavia. So the Scandinavian countries have moved more towards gender equality than any other countries, and the personality differences in Scandinavia have increased rather than decreased, and the proportion of women who are choosing STEM fields has decreased rather than increased. So as cultures become more gender neutral, the number of women who choose STEM fields decreases.
What do you mean by STEM fields?
So science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So if you let men and women make their choices, what actually happens is that they specialize in different situations, and you don't get equality of outcome.
Could they not have been programmed to have those views from the moment we raise them and give boys Lego and construction?
No, because what happens is that as countries get more egalitarian, which means there's less programming of that sort, the differences get larger, not smaller. And the scientific data on that is clear, and most of it was generated by people who have a left-leaning bias, so you can't blame it on conservative scientists. It was a shock to everyone to find that out.
Sophie,
I think the difference.
That's what Peterson is getting into is, I guess, when it gets to that point where there's a close knit or a whole environment that congregates into a proportion of just equality, as he just stated, it gets to a limited factor where it's based on, I presume, personal choice, dependent on gender. So, I mean, obviously, everybody, and I guess that's the host there, who brings up a really good point that actually emphasizes what's going to happen at the end of the podcast. He brings up a point that media or other kind of outlets bring about these kind of thoughts, and well, it was scientifically researched that these proportions or these segments are already defined, if you would say. So the woman would have her choice, or the girl would have her choice, or the male, or the woman would have, or the girl would have her choice, and the boy would have her choice. But the boy and the girl will have different outcomes or different choices or different interests to get into, which he explained with the STEM field, with the whole STEM field situation here. But let's continue.
Between Jordan and me is that we look at evidence and we lean towards different theories. So Jordan's theory is very much evolutionary, you know, that there are inherent differences in men and women. Mine is very much more social role theory, if you like, and that men and women are taking on different roles due to the expectations that society puts on them. And it's interesting that Jordan frequently cites Scandinavian countries where they've made more, like there's nowhere in the world that women are equal, but Scandinavia has made the most progress towards shared parenting.
Nowhere in the world where women are equal. That's interesting. It's the thing is that I'm not really too big into this equality thing between male and female or women and men, because there's just no such thing. And it's just getting forced and forced and forced between each gender and each culture. And it's just this propaganda that just keeps separating the two genders. And for what reason? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Nowhere in the world women have no equality. When did women have equality? When did men have equality? What kind of equality are you? She's looking for equality. Let's continue the video.
Etc. That said, it's not done yet. There's nowhere in the world where this is done yet.
But it's having the opposite effect that the gender equality types predicted. Opposite, not the same.
No,
and it isn't a theory, it's actually data driven by tens of thousands of surveys and the best scientific literature on the topic. It's not a theory, and I didn't come about it because of my political perspective. I looked at the data. What it showed was that as countries become more egalitarian, the differences between men and women grow. They don't shrink.
So what I'm interested in is data and analysis as well, and I'm particularly interested in the ones presented, such as the ones by the University of Southern California, which discovered that change towards gender equality is actually being slowed by beliefs that are legitimizing social inequalities on the basis of sex. And I'm also interested, I mean, like Jordan, I look at the data and I look at the studies, and I'm really also very much interested in studies like the analysis that was done by the American Psychological Society, which looked at 45 analysis of whether there's sex difference over 20 years. And its conclusion was that men and women are basically alike in terms of personality, in terms of cognitive ability, in terms of leadership. But what it did find was that media depictions of men and women as fundamentally different perpetuate misconceptions, as does workplace bias.
Oh God, so it's my fault.
So, no, well, you know, you're leaving soon. It's okay.
He does a little joke here, but yeah, no shit. No shit, men and women and boys and girls have the same personality. They're the same, basically have the same personality. Okay, great. All right. Okay, yeah, sure. All right, perfect. What does that? Oh. Okay. Yeah, they have the same personality. That's cool. because they grew up around each other. They're the same species. It depends when it comes to that minute sector. Then it depends on the environment that you're living in. Then that segregates, or that kind of shifts the momentum in your type of thought or your personality. Great. And the thing is, they keep spouting out. It's great to look at facts. It's great to look at statistics. It's great to look at numbers. It's great to see it. It's great to see the research behind it. It's good. It gives a plausible, a concrete. It gives a tangible resource to look back to. But these resources are so minute in the grand scheme of the world, or grand scheme of things. It's irrelevant in a way. But when it's dealing, honestly, in a way, because it's honestly dealing with the population of a more well-developed society. Not alone, but for the most part, the majority. And then they spot around the scientists and the colleges and the degrees and it gives that plausibility behind the statistics that behind it. But it's just like, okay, you got statistics from the college in California. Okay, well, I mean, what are the controls that the institution got their statistics from? What is the background in terms of financial stability? What is their race? What is their religion? And then obviously, what is their gender? I mean, these factors, it's like you might think that those factors are so minuscule. But that's the good part about that is the exact thing about it. They're minuscule. And they play a big part in the development of a person. But let's go ahead and continue this video.
No, you're leaving soon.
Men and women actually are more the same than they are different. But the issue is that small differences at the population level can turn into very large differences at the extreme. So, for example, men and women are broadly similar with regards to aggression, although men tilt a little bit more towards aggression. So that if you picked a random person out of the population, male and female, and you guessed that the male was more aggressive, you'd be right 60% of the time. But if you take the 1 in 100 most aggressive people, they're all male. And that's why the overwhelming proportion of people who are in prisons are male. Now, do you want to equalize that, just out of curiosity? What about bricklayers? They're 99% male. And we've got about 3/4 of the population now in universities in the humanities and social sciences are female.
Yeah.
Are we going to equalize that? And men work longer hours. They work more dangerous jobs. They're more likely to move. They're more likely to work outside. They're more likely to participate in jobs in the STEM fields that are scalable. They make more money for those reasons. And that's all hidden under the idea that the reason that men and women make different amounts of money is because of their gender. It's a very simplistic analysis, and trying to
Michael,
address
I was just going to say, Sophie, can you come back on that?
What I'm trying to equalise is opportunity and choice.
Fine, let's
And
equalise
You
choice.
agree on that?
But we won't get equal outcome that way.
And I think that what happens then, nobody knows, because we've never done it yet.
We do know.
But
We
I
know
think
what's happened in Scandinavia.
But it's not fully got there yet.
No, but it's going in the opposite direction that everyone predicted, and strongly.
I think one of the ththings I loved about Jordan's book, which I speed read last night, so forgive me, Jordan, I've not read every line. But one of my favourite rules...
That pissed me. It didn't piss me off. We're good. But you see that subtle kind of... she didn't answer any of the questions. She didn't answer or state or at least acknowledge any of the facts that he put out. She just jumped into her own kind of tangent here. I'm not sure what she's getting to her. She just wants to put out her point, basically. And that little jab she did there, where, well, I read your book, but I didn't really read the entire thing. I just skimmed through it. That little teeter tatter kind of childish kind of jab at him to really show, well, things aren't as important to me as you may think it is. Let's continue.
Rules in Jordan's book is Rule 9, which says, assume the person you are listening to might know something you don't. And I think that in a country where men outnumber women by 2 to 1 in Parliament, in local government.
And right there, she's starting to stumble over her words now. It's like that. It's like a little psychological play or little battle that happened in that instance where she said, "Oh, I read your book, but I didn't really read it fully. I just skimmed through it." But she took out something a little important, and then at this moment now, she's just stumbling over her words. And I believe the reason for that is because, so she did that little jab, that little emotional little, conflict or whatever toss out that she did to Peterson. And in her mind now, she's thinking, "Oh, wow, well, I did this little thing. Now I have a little bit more credence over him, or a little bit more, I feel I did something to his little ego or what have you, brought him down a little peg or what have you, and elevated myself over him a little bit." It's just childish. Now she's stumbling over her words because she's thinking about this at this moment, and this is in her head thinking, "Oh yeah, I did this to him, and now he's gonna think that, well, I read his book, but I didn't read it completely. I don't really have the time to read it. It's not as important to me to read the book because I am more important than you." And whatever. My thoughts are more relevant. But I did bring out this little thing just to soften the blow a little bit. Yeah, I did get this important text out. She really came prepared, by the way. She brought an entire quote out of the book just to. I wonder if she planned that, by the way. She said, "I wonder if during the conversation where I can use this quote, I'm going to say, well, I read your book, but I didn't read the entire book. I just skimmed through it, but I did get an important quote out of it. I'm going to use it against you to support my own clause." What an interesting little thing. I wonder if she planned that, honestly. I wonder when she was at home skimming through the book to debate, just skimming through the book to debate Peterson the next day or the next week. She was just like, "Oh man, this book it's telling some facts, it's doing some things here. But oh wow, look at this quote right here. I wonder when I'm talking to him, I'm going to use this quote here to support my own reasoning and get back to him." And I wonder if she thought about that a little bit. That's interesting. Oh, what an interesting woman.
Government where women's voices are not equally represented in media, where our education systems still are teaching boys and girls ideas of pink and blue. Yep. What I'm trying to do is work with thousands of optimistic, hopeful people for change.
Okay. You kept very quiet through this, Michael. I'm going to make you put you under a bit of pressure. Do forgive me. I'm going to come to the cause in a moment. Your boss called the gender pay gap a burning injustice. Is it?
Yes, it is, because there should be inequality of opportunity. There needs to be the same rights. But something that surprised me, that neither of you, and equality of outcome, sure, all of that. But the one thing both of you haven't mentioned is the biological difference, which unfortunately affects women's career prospects, whether we like it or not.
So, yeah.
Babies. And that does cause a problem. If I were to take a sabbatical from a corporation.
I was thinking about that entire time. Oh man. I wonder if you just thought about that the entire time when the podcast started, when they started talking, and they're like, they're not talking about babies. Ah, shit. Oh no, I hope none of them talk about babies, so I can bring up this point and not be on either one of the sides, so I don't pick a side. I can have my own justification in this conversation. Man, this is interesting. But the biological thing, it is a factor. It is true. Let's continue real quick.
For a while, it's going to set me back slightly. And it is a problem that biologically it's women who have babies, not men.
Sure, but that's why we are the Women's Equality Party is the only party in the UK that's got policies around shared parental leave.
She's
We're
so
the,
political.
we're the only party that has got fully costed plans for universal free childcare. What we're saying is that
You're trying to change the
we're trying to
outcomes.
change the outcomes, and also men are joining our party. Men who are
I
really
think,
as I said,
tired.
you've
And
got
I'm sure I'm going to have a word with Michael because I am sure he'll want the application.
Okay, forgive me.
We take joint
Forgive me, I
membership.
want to take one call if
But-
you'll forgive me, because time is
Sure.
really short, and I owe it to the viewers to hear their views on this.
We've got Salim calling from Manchester.
Salim, good morning.
Hi Matthew, how you doing?
I'm very well. I'm loving it. I'm pig in heaven today. What do we think about equality? Will it ever happen, Salim?
I was going to say I thought it was going to happen, but after listening to Jordan, he's swayed my opinion.
Why did you think it was going to happen?
Because I think we're going to become more cognitive creatures, and jobs are going to be more about mental skills.
Technology.
But then I've been visited schools, and I work in STEM. I'm a software developer, and the number of women doing software development hasn't increased. I would have thought they would have increased more, but I went into secondary school to do GCSE IT stuff, and there's very, very few girls doing IT, and I was thinking IT is the future, and the schools are pushing for more girls to go into IT, but there's only I visited about 8 schools.
Can I just, sorry, Salim, can I just note, because I had 30 seconds, Sophie's idea, actually representations in the media could be affecting such choices. Geeks, we see geeks, bespectacled blokes with bad hair on computers. That's what tech means, isn't it?
Yeah, and you're absolutely right, because I think actually that one of the other things we want to do is to have a look at curriculums, to have more female role models, to encourage girls, because so long as we still see STEM as a boys' area that we're trying to get girls into, it's not going to work. We need to do the work we're doing on care, get more boys thinking about, nursing, teaching, more role models for boys in schools.
And
that's the way you break it all
on
down.
programs like EastEnders, The Archers, that's helped them a lot.
Right, so, listen, I have to draw things to a conclusion. Can I just say how wonderful, 3 people, diverse political views, diverse views on...
Alright, I guess that's the end of the video. Yep, that's the end of the video. So, at the end there, it was very interesting what she stated, because at that fact, I agree with both of them. I agree with Mr. Peterson, and I still don't know her name, and I agree with the lady or the woman. And what she said at the end there brought up a very good point, and that's what I was thinking about, how media and your environment will affect your decisions and choices in the fields that you actually want to accomplish, or the fields that you want to join or be a part of. And that's very interesting to think about, especially when the host talked about how in STEM, how movies, commercials, TV shows, your friends or whatever, they portray like coding or STEM or any field dealing with computing or technology or any type of thing. It's always showed or viewed as a male dominated. It is a male dominated field, and it brings up a good point by which, so take for instance, if you have children and they're consuming television all the time, you have a boy and a girl watching TV all the time, or nowadays watching videos on YouTube or what have you, and then these ads come on, like commercials and things, and they portray the male with with a yellow hard hat, his visor, his safety visor, his safety vest, his little construction boots with a tablet or what have you, and he's the one doing the construction. And then you see the woman inside an office typing or something with her suit and an air conditioning environment. The environment they like to be in. So what if it was switched then? Sure, it's like doing it now a little bit, but see, this is the thing why I don't get into the whole feminism kind of patriarchy kind of nonsense, because yeah, now at this point it just feels like exactly what the host says. It feels like they're just pushing themselves into these fields, not in the fields of construction or what have you, but pushing themselves unnecessarily into things, into spaces that were thought of as male or masculine. And it's this weird dichotomy, man. So what I'm trying to get into is, so your children are watching the TV, and then they show this kind of representation. So what if the roles were reversed, where the woman is showed in the construction field and the guy is showed in the office? I mean, that's uncommon these days somewhat, but it is more, as Mr. Peterson said, it is more common to see male in a construction field, technology, or any kind of dangerous kind of any dangerous field of business, willing to work more hours, willing to stay out in the sun or harsh environments, or do any of these type of any of these types of works. So why can't, and she brought up an interesting point, so why can't women do these jobs? It's not that they can't. So let's get into the more deeper complex. And this is the real crux of the video, the real crux of the explanation. Because I'm sure these four individuals are coming from a background, a more European, more Caucasian background. So their views are going to be more affiliation with their Caucasian counterparts. So what if we discuss Americans, we discuss Hindus, we discuss the Middle Eastern population, we discuss the Guinean, Nigerian, Ethiopian, South African, the Egyptian, the South American. Well, we'll just congregate all the Americas together. Jamaica. What if we put these factors into it? And what I'm getting at is, where does the equality fall into these cultures or these races? What does it matter to these races? Because this kind of influence did not spawn in these races. Well, it did not spawn in the race or in the nationality of American man and American woman, my sisters and brothers. If we're gonna bring it to this type of subject, because we had no affiliation with these kind of concepts or these kind of rules or these kind of setups. We already had a set community. We already had a established system formulated for us, where all right, we're gonna use a word. There was no such equality. There was no what is this? Where's this equality term coming from? Obviously, you know where the equality term is coming from. This has no foundation in our principles. We already had and knew our jobs, and it was innate. This is innate in human nature. Sure, we are more cognizant than other animals or other species, But it's already implanted in us to what what we need to do as a people. And it's interesting. So take for instance, I wanted to get into a little like two little examples here, a couple little examples. Take for instance, you have a mom and you have a dad, and take for instance, you have a mom, dad, and a child, and the child goes to his friends and he or she says, "Oh, well, my mom works she's a bricklayer, and my dad is a hairdresser." And the other kid's like, "Huh? What do you mean your dad? What do you mean your dad is a hairdresser and your mom's a bricklayer?" Like, yeah, my mom's a bricklayer and my dad's a hairdresser. Okay. And then you're gonna go into the fact that, oh well, no one's gonna condemn the woman. By the way, no, she's gonna be praised as, oh well, she's a strong woman. She's a strong, independent woman who chased after her dreams of being a bricklayer. But what about the guy? What if the guy's dreams was to be a hairdresser? Okay, fine. His dreams are to be a hairdresser, but now he's going to be condemned in either possibly being too effeminate or being gay. The hell is the problem? What's wrong with being a hairdresser as a guy? You can be a barber as a guy. What if a woman wants to be a barber? There's female barbers as well. Oh, but the guy barber is better than the woman. Who says that? Rosemary down the street's doing a fantastic job on my fade. She lined me up pretty damn well. She's a colored woman too. So she knows my hair. And she gave me a clean cut. Better than Tyrone down by the beach. He bought his new clippers and he didn't even give me a good cut, man. He charged me $25 still, but Rosemary cleaned me up good. What about the male hairdresser now? Shit. Wilson styled me up pretty goddamn good, brother. I don't know about you, but I went down to Stephanie last week. He didn't do shit to my hair. But my brother over here, he knew what he was doing. He knew the texture of my hair. He knew what shampoos. He knew how to get around. It's the skill that the guy likes to do. And that's what Peterson was getting into, the whole choice aspect. But if we delve a little bit deeper, what if the guy just likes doing hair, man? He likes washing hair. He likes styling hair. He has a knack, he has a good understanding and a good feeling for hair. Better than Stephanie. Sure, Stephanie knows what she's doing. But the brother loves doing his hair, man. And now the child's father comes home. Okay, he wants to go outside in the back. He wants to fix his car. Okay. And being a hairdresser doesn't take away from the fact that he's still a man. Biologically. And let's get to the sister. She's a bricklayer now. Okay, she's laying bricks. Oh, great. She's mixing the mortar. She's setting up her stand for the motor to be placed onto. She's getting her water, dampening it, softening up the mortar. She's getting her bricks laid out. She's not working with like cinder blocks or anything. Maybe one day she wants to work with the cinder blocks. Maybe she has the strength for that. Most likely she has the strength for that if she's in that industry for that long period of time. And she's laying her bricks. Phenomenal. Rebecca's laying down the bricks. She's laying down the blocks. She knows how to water the motor. She knows how to get the perfect consistency. She knows how to align each brick perfectly. She has an eye and a knack for these bricklaying. Now we get into the biological factor here. Okay, one day Rebecca gets pregnant by her husband. Oh, they both get into this, into the pregnancy. She's pregnant now. Okay, she can't really bricklay anymore. Obviously, she can't breathe in that shit every day. She can't breathe in motor mix every day. That's gonna mess up the child's birth. Okay, great. Now she needs to take some time off to birth her child. Okay. Well, Neil's gonna pay. Who's gonna pay for all the bills? Now the guy has to pay for all the bills, and all he knows how to do is do hairdressing. Okay, I suppose I would hope that he has a very good clientele wherever he lives. All right, cool. He's paying for all the bills and everything, but obviously her job is also paying her, giving her subsidies or whatever, so she can stay on bed rest while she's pregnant. Okay. And then they act like having a child is like this godsend. I mean, like every woman, like it's like, okay, you're having a freaking shit. You're having a freaking child. Great. Phenomenal. All you did was have sex. Now you're gonna shit out a child. Great. Every other goddamn species in the world shits out a child every once in a while. Yes, you're gonna have an emotional connection to the child. Every species does, in a way, somewhat. Some of them just kill them on the spot, but that's neither here and there. All right, cool. What about Iman in the Middle East? She's having a child too. At the same time, you're having a child. But the difference is she's poor. Her husband doesn't really take care of her or the other 4 children that she has. She can barely take care of the other 4 children because her father or the husband is out doing God knows what. Who even knows if the husband's with her or even taking care of the children? Who even knows if this child is going to survive? Shit happens. That's what life is. But now Rebecca's having a child, and oh my God. Apparently we have Mary here with baby Jesus in the construction industry. Getting a child, birthing a child. Great. You're off for 9 months. Phenomenal. When you come back, get back to work. No. Okay. Life moves on. Great, you have your child now. Now you gotta sit home a little bit and take care of a child and get yourself ready so you can heal up a little bit. No, I don't know what you had. I don't know if you had a C-section or if you had natural birth, whatever kind of way you went to the hospital with. That's on you. That's on your choice, and going to the hospital doing whatever kind of choice you did. Then again, what Mr. Peterson said, it is your choice. Good. Now you got to get back into work. Now you got to go ahead and lay these bricks. Where are you going to leave the child? You're going to leave the child with the husband? Well, he has a better environment to take care of the child. You could just leave it there, play it in the playpen in the back or something. Check on the child every once in a while, whatever. Leave it at daycare. Now the daycare sitter or whatever is taking care of the kid. Or the child, excuse me. Now you have someone else influencing the child's development. Great. Now the thing is, you might say, oh, well, there are different jobs suited for different genders. Excuse me? When did this come into a factor? Well, you know, men are the hunters and women are the gatherers. What? Whose philosophy is that? I'm not down in the philosophy. I'm not saying it's great either, but whose philosophy came about with this? Surely wasn't ours. Surely wasn't the American man, woman, and child. Surely it came from some other region of the world. Because over here in the Americas, the women were the hunters and the gatherers, and the men were the hunters. Wait. Yeah, and the gatherers, whatever. The protectors and the gatherers. They both did the same thing. I guess there's your equality. But then we got back to the whole thing. Oh, man. Each job has their specific gender role. I mean, in construction, guys can stay out in the sun longer. They can lift heavier objects. They're built for these kind of conditions. They're more built for harsher weather. They can sustain more. They can breathe in more. What's it called? Drywall dust. They can breathe in more cement dust. They can build in dust in general. They can hold heavy machinery and operate these heavy machineries and all these types of what have yous and great things. And the coal mining, they're built for this type of. No one's built for a coal miner, brother. Who built a man to mine coal, man? You can tolerate it, obviously, but there's no person ever in history who is built for these kind of conditions, man. You can tolerate the conditions. Yes, your body can sustain. Some other people can sustain it longer, but it depends on the person, man. Sure, a woman can be a coal miner too. She might even be one of the greatest coal miners. The guys might be mining more coal than her, but maybe she brings out more, quality coal or something. I don't know. She discovers something better than coal. Well, I mean, there's things that are already discovered better than using coal fuel, but that's either here and there. Nobody's body was built to stay out in the sun for 12, 14 hours a day. Nobody's body is built for these things, man. They just have to be done to live in the environment that you want to live into, or build a complex environment that you want to build into. But who brought these philosophies and these environments to us? We already had our own civilization here. But the advent of a certain period in history changed those rules drastically. We won't name any names of what brought those ideals into established cultures. But they were already established. So the four people speaking on the panel are speaking on behalf of a certain group already. They're not getting into the minute details of other relations. And another point that I wanted to bring up too with this whole media complex is I remember can bring an animation into this too. I remember watching a movie. I'm not sure if you've seen it, Wolf Children. Great movie, but one of the children it's a movie about two children who are wolves. Half wolf, half children, and then they grow up. And but either way, one of the children liked to collect bugs and like dead animals and all that kind of thing. And that child One of them was named, I think her name was Yumi, and the other one who was a boy was named Ame. And Yumi, she liked, chasing bugs and other animals and everything. And when she grew up and they moved into like the countryside in, country Japan, she was going to school. She had a box, and she was like so excited. She had to collect all these bugs and leaves and twigs and acorns and skulls from different animals and insects and locations and everything. And she had an awesome little red box that she kept all her little prized possessions or collections into. And she was just like mad. She's just like freaking ecstatic to show her friends, her new friends, her new little acquaintances at school, like all these things that she collected. And she's like, bah! She opened the thing, a cuff of smoke just buffed into the air. And it's just like, the animation was great, by the way. And it showed her all the skulls and the trees and little twigs that she collected. And she was just like mad excited to show her friends these artifacts that she collected I would assume, over the years that she was outside playing. And she was just mad excited to show her people, because I'm assuming she assumed that her friends would be like, what? Oh man, you collected all these things? This is sick. But the girls just scurried off screaming. And that changed her perception on what she believed in, or what she was excited about, and followed what they wanted for themselves, or what they were taught. Which is pretty interesting. So now she dispatches her interests to fulfill what she thinks would make the other people happy. So who knows if she can, obviously she's half wolf. This could have meant a lot of things. But I mean, the fact that she's a girl and she had interest into something that plausibly might be something that guys are into. If she had such an inclination and such an interest, of course, maybe she grows out of it or what have you, anything could have happened. But if she kept that kind of interest and she was so interested in these kind of artifacts, she could have been, she can also, a woman can be an archaeologist still. It's still a male-dominated field. But with her sense of being half wolf, and she's a girl, wolf, she could have brought that aspect into the field of archaeology, or kind of insect discovery, or whatever kind of, foliage, foliage exploration, and brought her skill sets into those fields, and probably discovered numerous amount of, undiscoverable foliages, or different species of wildlife or plant life, insects, animals. Could have took herself to a different kind of region and made herself what she wants or enjoys to do. But now she's in the office crunching numbers for another different company. Who knows what this company is doing in a nice air conditioner with her tight skirt and high heels. All right. And that's where the media complex comes into. So you have all these advertisements, you have all these shows showing, oh, well, boys need to be tough. They need to work in the fields. They need to drive trucks. They love computers and math. Right? Yes, guys are more logical. Guys are more acclaimed to these aspects. But who's enforcing these things? Who's pushing these fields onto that gender? Oh, look at girls. They're soft and delicate, and they need to be doing delicate, soft things and playing with dolls and hairs. Who's selling the dolls? And who's advertising? Who's advertising these things? You got to be thinking about how you see how deep this stuff goes, man. And it's not even the environment that they live into, it's the entire congregate, the entire society built up on these values and pushed onto them exactly what the host was saying onto children. But why are these pushed onto these different genders? Maybe the companies themselves know something. Maybe the companies know each gender has a specific inclining to a certain task. And if you raise the children to want that certain task, maybe you can bring them into our company, or you can bring into our space, and they can spend their time or their entire lives working for us. Rather than developing or trying to pursue their own interests or activities. I don't want Rebecca to be a bricklayer. I don't want Rebecca to be a whatever she wants to do, a bricklayer. Yeah, a bricklayer. I want her in the office. I want her to be an accountant, crunching numbers for me. Getting up every day at a specific time, driving to where she needs to be. Focus all her attention on what I want her to do. I don't want her to pursue her interest in being a bricklayer. Possibly she can use that skill and build her own house or build her own kind of community and make her own company and hire other women or men who are interested in that field. And now I have competition on the field. And then you get into that fact where they were talking about STEM and research or what have you. As like more men are interested in these type of fields or these type of technological fields or coding or what have you. Yeah, schools. I remember I was in school. I didn't really see. I saw like 2 girls into my class, but when I was trying to do coding or what's it called, computer engineering, there's only 2 girls. I think one of them left. Like, that's not something a girl is going to be interested in. And then there's the thing is, these fields, like, say for instance, now Rebecca's doing bricklaying. Now she's got to worry. There's the implication she's got to worry about her own safety. And that's another kind of crucial thing too. Not in the safety of the job itself, but in the safety of the people that works around her. Because now she's in a field where more men is in. And what did one day, well, whoops, she got raped. Got knocked out by a wrench or a 2x4, and now some of the guys are taking her home. God knows if this job is not saying if this job is even a legitimate job or a legal job. And the strain that is going to be putting on her body. Not saying that it doesn't go, no strain goes onto the guy as well. I remember I used to work in carpentry. I worked in carpentry for a little while. And getting up every day at 4 a.m. and coming back home at 8 p.m., it's not nice. And you're out in the sun all day. I have no problems with it. I can tolerate it. Because I know I'm learning something. I'm learning something out of it. I don't care about building the structure of the house or whatever, the restaurant that I was working on. Sure, it's going to be built. Yeah, great. It's going to be built to serve another thousand millions of other people who's going to eat dinner there or what have you. Okay, fantastic. That restaurant owner is going to be ecstatic. He invested his money into whatever. Okay, great. But I was learning something. I was acquiring a skill that I could use and pass down to my children. And God knows who knows what they want to invest their time into. I can show them what I've learned in that industry, which, by the way, a lot of people in that industry were grown up that way. They just grew up in the industry. And most of them, their fathers just had a company. And they just work with their fathers or family members in construction, and they just learn construction over the years, and now they just go into construction. Not saying that they can't choose another field. They didn't have to stay in construction. That's on them. But it's interesting. It brings up a lot of thoughts. And if I just stay here, I'll just keep rambling on, man. But it goes much deeper, man. It goes much deeper than the 4 Caucasians that are sitting at the table discussing a wide, generic, impossible debate. Just a nonsensical debate. Mr. Peterson, at the end there, he didn't say much. I feel that he got to a point where he's very logical, and I would assume, and I'm sure he knows either three things. He either did not have anything to combat the last rhetoric that she stated, and he was thinking about it, and she kind of made some sense, but he doesn't. Maybe he thought, okay, wait a minute, something about what she's saying kind of makes some sense that she has to go back. So he kind of shut himself a little bit there. Shut down himself a little bit there just to think of, or maybe he's so stuck in his ways, he didn't really want to hear what she was saying or any kind of plausibility in what she was saying. Not saying what she was saying or the other dude was saying was right, but just trying to understand the plausibility behind them. Or maybe he was just tired of explaining himself, and he thinks he was better than them in a way where he doesn't really have to explain or talk anymore. He could have been either one of those reasons. But it was a good takeaway from what she stated and what they all stated about this equality thing. Really dumb subject. Equality between men and women. Just gets nowhere. Just a waste of time. Wasted my time, honestly, doing this video talking about it, because this gets no. But the thing is, it's about getting the message out there. That's it for today. Bye.